Ladies and gentlemen, how you doing? My name is John the Ninja, and I'm live in the Dojang, or the Dojo, or as I like to call it, the John the Ninja Studios. And the person I have on Skype right now, I'm so excited to talk to. His name is the Chiseled Adonis. He's a comedian from Brooklyn, New York, and he's just one of the funniest guys I've ever heard. He rose to fame doing NFL Week commentary. Every Sunday after the games, he compiles all the highlights, and then he does jokes that just make you want to cry. If you know anything about the 90s, the early 2000s, or even now, I guarantee you're going to laugh your ass off. He also gets to boast that he has over, and I'm saying over, 138,000 followers on YouTube, 94,000 on Facebook, and 48,000 on Instagram. He also hosts the Hold My Nuggets podcast with Marv Glover. And when I tell you, I'm super excited to talk to this gentleman. Words can't describe it. Good sir, Chiseled Adonis, how you doing today, sir?
I'm doing well. I appreciate the great introduction. As always, I'm humbled to hear when people bring me out like that. But if I may do a little bit to introduce myself,
Do it.
I am the diligent, vigilant, meticulous, sagacious, conscientious, analytical, methodical individual, the Chiseled Adonis. And everything else that John did bring to the table is absolutely right. Absolutely 100% true.
I always talk to my friends because a lot of comedians are quick-witted, and that means they would be great rappers, man. Did you ever dabble in rap?
I haven't, but I can say it's in my blood. My brother is a little bit of a rapper. He's just never taken it seriously, but he's a bit of a lyricist.
Okay. One thing I do want to touch, first and foremost, thank you for being 90s and early 2000s conscious, because every time I watch one of your videos, it's always a reference to something we can go back to, whether it's the Rugrats, whether it's through Naruto, whether it's through politics, whether it's a sports moment. There's always something that you just throw out there, man. Thank you for being culturally knowledgeable about your generation, who you're speaking to.
Yeah, absolutely. I try to put things out there so there's a conduit and a connection that people can make while watching whatever video it may be, whether I'm doing a regular flashback in a commentary or I'm going on a rant, I'll bring up something just so the people of my age range can feel connected to their childhood. Because oftentimes we see people put out content and everything is what's relevant now, but you completely disregard what transpired when you were younger. So I always try to pull back and get back to those glory days when everybody was so carefree and bring that emotion that they once had, bring that to the now and make it prevalent.
Tell me your story. You grew up in Brooklyn too?
Born and raised.
Where my research started was when you were in college. So what did you go to school for?
I was in school for business administration and sports management. It was somewhat of the same thing, so I was there for that.
When you were in school, I don't know specifically what made you say, I want to be a comedian. But I know in 2015, I think you said $40. You were trying to really hold in like Bill Burr when he was saying, hey, I want to be a comedian. I'm going to work my ass off, and then I'm going to go to New York and try and shoot my shot. Was it $40 that whole year, that semester? You were just working?
You did your research. It was $40 for the 2000 my spring semester, I believe it was. So I spent $40 in 2014. January 1st up until May, I think it was 18th when I came back. So I spent only $40. At that point, when I saved the $40, I wasn't even, sold on becoming a comedian. It was just a thought in my head. It was the following semester when I made that decision. $40, I'm a ridiculously frugal individual.
Man, God bless you, because I spend $40 every time I eat, man.
Dang.
That's my vice. I love video games, concerts, and food. What made you think, okay, maybe I should dabble in comedy? Because a lot of people don't know, and it blows my mind today, that there's a difference between being a funny individual and then being a comedian. You could be funny in the streets, you could get people to laugh, but be able to be on stage and actually entertain a whole room, it's a totally different ball game. So what made you start to dabble with the idea, and then what made you say, okay, I'm going to go for this?
Well, the idea, I think it was always in my mind, because growing up watching the Bernie Mac show and the Steve Harvey show and the Hughleys and the Wayans brothers and things of that nature, you'd see these guys who were stand-up comedians and they had their own shows, and they would find a way to touch on how they got into comedy in the shows. And I remember Steve Harvey used to always talk about when he was maybe 10 years old or maybe even younger, he used to look in the mirror and imagine he had his own show. So I always had that thought, but I never thought to myself, I'll put the work forth to make that happen. I'll just be a person who has that dream. And my last semester in college in 2014, My business law professor, I remember we used to do a bunch of different activities. We had a mock trial. I came in a suit, briefcase, and I was playing the Law and Order theme while I was walking from my dorm to the classroom to go and do it. And he pulled me to the side after we finished everything and asked, "Yo, why are you here?" Because every single day, you may not know it, but you entertain. And I never gave it any thought. And then I started to do a little bit of self-reflection. So I looked at every aspect of my life. Comedy and entertainment has always been prevalent in each one of those stages, whether it was from elementary, junior high, high school, or college, even outside of school, in churches, regular conversation with my friends. I was always funny. So because that was the case, I figured, you know what? I can try to make this dream a reality. So I saved $13,000 in 7 months working in the airport. I took every single dime and I threw it into this comedy game.
So what was your first experience on stage? Was it another open mic, or did you do anything prior to you said, hey, I want to be a comedian? I've done one comedy show. It was more of a talent show. My friends kind of pushed me into it, and I'll never forget that thrill of I'm on stage and then that great feeling of, hey, that joke was funny. And then when my punchline for my best joke went out, it's just dead silence. How did your first time go? As better than mine already, I'm already assuming.
I would say it was for what I expected, because I went in there with an expectation, because I was never one. I don't write anything. I suck at writing. It's my Achilles heel when it comes to comedy. So everything's always off of the fly. So when I was trying to prepare the material, I said, all right, I'll have this here. I'll have this here. Oh, this is hilarious. Maybe there'll be an applause break. That was the first mistake that I made. So I got on stage, I believe it was February 2016.
Okay.
And I did an open mic, and I had no experience, doing comedy. I've done like speeches and different sort of things, but I always worked comedy in there, but it was never primarily comedy. And when I did it, it was pretty much 50-50. I had a couple of jokes that hit, and then some that I was really expecting to hit, they missed. But overall, the experience was very poor.
After that experience, because you say you don't like writing, how do you develop your routine? Because Kevin Hart, thank God he's all right, he said that when you say it in your head, when you write it, when you try and present it, you're thinking it's funny. So how do you test your jokes to make sure, okay, I think I have something, or let me work on this?
Most of the time, it's just conversation. Like, I'll have a thought, it'll come to my mind, I say, oh, this is funny. So I act it out by myself, and then I try to work it slowly into conversation, whether I'm texting, because I'm one of those few texters who can text and bring to life the conversation. So I feel as if that's strong there as well. So I'll text it out to my friends. Whether we're together, I'd work that material into regular conversation, see if I get a laugh, work on the delivery of how I do it. And then from there, I'll take it to an open mic, and then I'll continue to try to work on it to see, all right, where else can I go with this joke? How much meat is on the bone to where I can get every piece? But it takes time, because with writing, my mind goes all over the place. So trying to get a joke to work, I have to be able to commit to, all right, I'm going to work on just this joke, forget everything else up. But it's so tough.
Who are the comedians that you would say have left a lasting imprint on you that are like 100% like, okay, these are the guys I look to as the godfathers? Like for me, D.L. Hughley's a big one. He doesn't get as much love as he used to. George Carlin, Red Fox, Iglesias is another one. Bill Hicks.
Yes.
So who are those comedians that are up there?
I would say my number one favorite comedian of all time is Patrice O'Neal. Always been number one for me. So there's Patrice, Bill Burr, Chris Rock, Chappelle for sure, Carlin, and a little bit of Pryor.
A little bit.
I like Carlin for the way that he writes and how precise that he is in his material. And Bill Hicks, I watched a lot of him as well. And there was one more name. Who am I forgetting? I feel as if I'm forgetting something. Greg Giraldo.
Whoa, that is a name I forgot.
His roasting ability and just to be on it and just never stop. Beautiful.
And man, again, guys that really are able to look and see outside the box. It's really amazing to think how far comedy's gone. I'm not going to say I'm going to jump out there and be a comedian on stage, but I appreciate the art.
Speaking of art, let's hit your videos.
They're brilliant. They're beautiful. What made you say I should start doing sports commentary? When was that first little dabble into start doing the videos?
Perhaps it was the NBA Finals. Whatever it was, I was trying to figure out what my niche would be online. Because initially, I wasn't even going to do social media. Because I was off social media completely in 2015. Didn't want to have to deal with it. I'm like, you know what? I'll just detach completely. But when I did my open mic, I did it in front of 27 people maybe. And then for some apparent reason, I was caught up in traffic maybe 2 days later. I recorded a small little rant. I posted it, got 1,000 views. So I said, whoa, wait a minute. Maybe I could reach some numbers online, and that same number of people I would have inside of a comedy club can be maximized on the video. So amongst the time trying to figure out what my voice, what my sound would be, I saw small clips here and there, whether it was like a fight or anything like that. I would do voiceover work. And then when sports happened, because I'm so passionate about sports, I would see maybe one play. I believe my very first football video was a Thursday night football game between the Rams and the Seahawks. And the Seahawks were wearing those highlighter outfits, that neon green. And the punter took off for maybe about a 30-yard gain, and he fumbled. Nobody touched him. He just lost the ball. I found it so hilarious. I said, you know what? Before I say anything, let me take a mic, record my initial thoughts, just post it. I posted it. I went to sleep. I woke up. It had 350,000 views. And then from that point, I was off and running.
Talk about overnight success. How do you get the videos posted so quickly? When I first started watching your stuff, I worked overnights at Wawa. Work at a gas station. So there's not much to do, but I'd be scrolling through Facebook, and then there you go. I get the whole day of football that I missed in one video with great, hilarious commentary. I'm telling you, people, watch these videos. And I'm just thinking like, bro, this is so many highlights, so much stuff clipped together, and it's not even showtime for the Sunday night game yet. Or sometimes the game would be on, and then boom, there's the video. So how do you compile the videos? Do you go on ESPN, watch those videos and cut them up? Take us through that process of how you get the videos together, and then go through, okay, I'm going to record this and say this.
So what I do is during the games, every single highlight, every single touchdown, because I try to spotlight every touchdown or try to get as much of the turnovers as well. But while I'm watching the game, I'll download the clip immediately after it happens. Not of the entire game. I only do the entire games, whether it's Thursday night football or Sunday and Monday night. But on the Sunday games, because I know there's so many people who are either working or they want to see a roundup because they're probably only watching their locally televised games. So I figured the best possible strategy is to get these out right after the final, 425 game finishes at about 7:45. So what I do is during the games, I take the clips, I compile them, and then as the games are going, I'm recording. So once that final snap is done, I save the video. I try to get it uploaded before the Sunday night game or at least during halftime. If I can't get it during halftime, then definitely after the game is completely finished. So once you see Sunday night football is finished, Al Michaels and Chris Collinsworth fade to black, my video is uploaded. Just so I can be the first person to provide you with the highlights and actual, comedy plus. Because sometimes people just watch the highlights like, all right, I've been watching this for about 30 minutes and you have a commercial break. I have no commercial breaks. It just runs straight through. So I record it during the game.
One thing I noticed a lot was you have a lot of catchphrases. I'm a big wrestling fan, and I know you are too. Every time WWE goes to Brooklyn, you're there. I don't know how you do it, man, because those seats kill me. You have a lot of catchphrases that you say over and over again. Like The Rock would have catchphrases. Yo, stick something up your candy ass, your jabroni, this or that. Take me through, what are your favorite catchphrases? And do you know when you first started getting them started?
It was definitely with my friends. I know my favorite one is probably the hold my nuggets, suck my dick one, because that one just came out of nowhere. I've been saying holding nuggets since I was in high school. I don't know where it came from. I couldn't tell you the origin, but I would just say, I keep saying hold my nuggets, and then it just came about that way. And it's funny you bring up wrestling because that's where the inspiration for all of the catchphrases and all the taglines came from. Because growing up, The Rock, Stone Cold Steve Austin, those two were my favorite superstars in the WWF at the time. And I would see, in order to bring out that natural sort of charisma, what made it so captivating was you as an audience felt as if you were a part of it. So I can say something that you already know and we say it together, it just maximizes what you say. That's why I say hold my nugget, similar to how The Rock would say, can you smell? So you hold, because you wait for the is cooking. So with the hold my nuggets, you wait for the suck my dick part. So it's always great. I always loved catchphrases. And as for where they come from, it's off the top of my head.
One thing I kept on seeing that was interesting, and you've touched upon it on your YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Pornhub. Ladies and gentlemen, this guy's got everything you can think of as far as social media goes. It's all those degrees. Go to school, get your degrees. One thing I keep not understanding is why you're getting banned for certain things. I could understand content and copyright, but then there'll be times where you'll post and it'll say someone's feelings got hurt or something just didn't seem right. And then I'll look at videos or video in question that it's not here, but it's over there. I'm like, I'm not seeing that. When did you start having issues with the censorship with the different platforms? And when did you start saying, okay, this is really starting to be an issue for me? Because the way you handled it, you embraced it.
I would have to say it started in 2017, and they started removing, and this was even before the football commentary started, actually. I was getting banned. The very first one that they removed was, I think I did a commentary on this. Yeah, I think it was a porn star. Yeah, a porn star named Brian Pumper. And he was cracking an egg on a woman's head while they were sleeping with each other. But in the midst of the video, there was nothing that was shown outside of just the egg being cracked on the top of her head. And when I made the commentary for it, it got over 1 million views, and they removed it after about 3 days. So, okay, that's odd, but I guess because of the association of this being a porn star, maybe that's why. So I let that one ride. Then in June of 2017, I posted a video, a compilation of just a ton of crackheads doing craziness. A guy did a backflip off of a building. One guy was walking in the street on fire. And I did a 2-minute commentary, and I got 3 million views. 2 million views in 2.5 days, and then they removed it. And when they removed it, they said, oh, there was bullying. So I'm like, wait a minute, what's going on here? And that was the first time that I got banned. Once that happened, I made a decision, you know what, I'm going to go to the Facebook HQ that they have here in New York. Turns out that wasn't the case at all. They only have like an IT sort of thing over here. So when that started to happen, I said, okay, maybe they're banning everybody doing things that fall under these grounds. But that wasn't the case. So once I noticed, all right, I'm constantly being banned off of somebody just having hurt feelings, and instead of just trying to flag my stuff down, you could just not watch it. Once I saw them, all right, you know what? I'm not going to succumb to whatever sort of adversity you're throwing in my direction. I'm going to keep doubling down on what I'm doing, because for every person that doesn't like me, there's 10 that does. So it makes no sense to change who I am at my core just to appease to somebody who didn't like me in the first place. So I'd say 2017 is when the blocking started. 2017 was when I said, you know, fuck them. I'm going to do my own thing.
So what platform do you think was the most supportive?
I would have to say YouTube, because initially Facebook had the largest following, but as the blockings continued to come, I ended up taking about, I think it was 6 months off from Facebook. I said, you know what? Follow me everywhere else. Come to the YouTube, come to the Instagram, come to Twitter, come to Pornhub at that time, go anywhere. But then the Facebook following, only a small percentage came over. But with YouTube, all of the people who are originally there, they stayed there and rolled with me through every single, whether it was a block, minor suspension, whatever the case was. YouTube was there, and it felt as if we were really like a family over there. Facebook was, well, we see you now we don't, so it's not really our business. YouTube, they were there riding with me the whole time.
And I agree with that, because when you first had your channel and I subscribed and had that issue, you disappeared, and I was like, what the heck? Where'd he go? So then I had to go looking, and then lucky for me, I found you on Instagram. But I just remember how quickly, like, okay, I see him every week and then gone. So I had to put a post out like, does anybody remember the Chiseled Adonis or the guy who did commentary? And a couple of my friends were like, yeah, he's over here now. He kept on getting blocked and etc. So how did you meet Mr. Marv Glover and then start the Hold My Nuggets podcast?
Well, we knew each other for about a decade now. We went to the same church. The funniest thing was we didn't know that we would probably end up on this path of comedy, because at the time he was doing spoken word at school and a lot of other dope things, and I was playing just football. So I went to college, I was playing football, and I remember he came to my house for a school project and he interviewed me. And we were talking back and forth, and we just had this small natural chemistry that was there, but we didn't really pay it any mind. And then all of a sudden he asked me, yo, I saw you were doing comedy. Give me some insight on this, on that. And then we started to, that's what our true friendship began from that point. And then now we're here. As for how the podcast came about, I always wanted to do like a sports podcast, but I needed somebody who was consistent, because I have another podcast, but we're all over the place in our lives, so we can't do it consistently. But with Marv, we have pretty much almost the same story, both extremely vested in sports, both comedians, and both being Haitian, so we can figure out so many different ways to make things work. And we actually speak to each other almost every day. So we figured, why not bring that to the people? So we developed the whole My Nuggets podcast, and here we are, 12 episodes in.
So I'm looking at your microphone, and that is way better than mine, as you can see this cheap thing. So I'm wondering, where is the Whole My Nuggets studios, and what kind of microphones do you guys use? Because they look higher end.
Oh, we go to a studio for that podcast. Yeah, but they have what is the name of their mics? I can't recall what the name of the mic is. But I was gonna buy it myself because I have a couple of mics here myself. I think it's tenor mics. I was going to see if I can get those, but those are just a bit more expensive because most of the, probably down the line, we're gonna get our own studio setup. But we just need to get that, particular sort of mic and the other interface and all the other stuff. But they have some very professional equipment in there.
It looks good.
There's a lot of websites and other apps that help spread your podcasts out to a more wider audience. Do you guys subscribe to any of those?
No, we actually we don't. Originally we were going to, because they had an opportunity to stream our stuff on iTunes, Spotify. They'd have it going live on YouTube. And a ton of different, I think it's 3 other audio streaming services. But we figured rather than, pay them to go and do it, we could just do it ourselves because he has a Spotify account. He has iTunes. I got the YouTube, all these different sort of things. So we'll just put them over there rather than get a third party to do it for us.
How do you go about doing your sponsorship work? Because I've also done sales and radio a little bit. Depending on the area and where you're at and how much reputation you have, that could be an extreme pain in the ass. You're basically walking in with no name going, this is why you should buy, or this is why you should support me. So when you do your sponsorships, like the manscaping video was funny, but that's a legitimate sponsorship you have. How do you go about selling yourself? Do they usually come to you at this point in your career, or are you still searching out? Because you guys did say you're sponsored by Chick-fil-A. I don't know if you were joking, but that milkshake looked pretty good.
Oh, it did look good. We were joking. I wish we were. We'll probably have to reach out. We were joking at the time. But I'll have to reach out. Funny, coincidence enough, there was a girl who worked there. She actually does know who I am, so that was funny. If she could get into the executive's office and talk to him, that'd be great. But for sponsors, when I first started, I always felt uncomfortable having to go out there and sell myself to somebody. But then now I've been having a lot of different companies, a lot of different people reaching out to me for sponsorship, because now I have something that I can bring to a table. I have the views, I have the subscriber numbers. So I guess that's how I go about it now. If somebody reaches out to me, then we can make stuff work. But most of the time when I reach out to a bunch of different brands, I either get left on red or they go in a different sort of direction. But you just got to keep sending out emails and trying to pitch that, hey, I can be of some value to you, and put out videos different than everybody else. That's what I loved so much about my Manscaped video, because it's so much different.
Yo, the picture of Bush. Yo, the picture of Bush was genius. I'm sorry I'm cutting you off.
Oh, no problem. I was at the end of my soliloquy anyway.
But things like that, like we're just having a conversation, and here I'm getting so much joy from your work. With your career thus far in the comedy and the videos, what are some of the perks you've seen?
Have you met anyone famous? Have you had
a fan come up and be like, hey, listen, just let you know this, something a little deeper than like, hey, I love your stuff. It's like, yo, man, your stuff really spoke to me, thank you, or something like that?
I've had a few girls who've watched my stuff. They've stopped me in the street. We chopped it up there. As regarding famous people who tune in, I had Orleans Darkwa, who used to play running back for the New York Giants.
Wow.
He follows me, so that's pretty cool. I've spoken with Gerald Kelly. I've spoken with Drew Frazier, Carl Anthony Payne, from Martin and the Cosby Show.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna see if I can get him on one of my podcasts, because he's probably going to be hosting at my next stand-up show. So I'm going to see if I can get him on there at one point. But the most awesome part of doing, this sort of field of work is the interaction with the supporters who watch my videos. Because I've never really been one to call people fans. I always felt as if that's reserved for more of like I'm a fan of Michael Jackson or a fan of the sports scene. I always consider people who watch my stuff, you're all supporters, because everybody plays a role in me ascending in this comedy game. And meeting people who watch my videos and say they've, impacted their life in any sort of way is always extremely humbling. Just the other day, I had a guy who stopped me on the train. I'm headed to Manhattan to go do some work, and he saw me from across the cart, came over, and we chopped it up for about 4 or 5 stops. And he used to play football in college, and he's trying to find his direction in life. So we spoke back and forth, and then he said, "Oh, would you like to sit down and, we could go and talk over dinner just to help me find out?" I said, "Yeah, no problem," because I'm more about other people than myself. Because if you sacrifice time out of your day just to tune in to watch my videos, whether it's for 1 minute or it's for 25, I appreciate you way more than you can, appreciate me for bringing that small microcosm of joy into your life. So that's always the best thing about this, is just being able to have that interaction with the supporters who watch my stuff.
And that's a very woke statement you said. Who would you say helped mold your thinking? Because when you speak, you're affluent, you're straight to the point when you speak. You're a well thought out individual. Who are some of the people that you grew up with or were mentored by that helped get you to this point of, okay, I need a sharp mind?
Funny enough, it started with Dragon Ball Z, because Vegeta being my favorite character, I would always listen to this man's ability to use words and be so precise and pristine in his delivery. So he would say certain sort of things about, oh, wait a minute. He cut down what could have probably been said in 15 words to 7 and delivered it in a way where people understood with no forms of ambiguity. So it started from there. Then it got to the Patrice O'Neal realm, where he was speaking so direct and to the point, regardless of how you would feel, void of emotion. Better to be somebody who tells the truth and it gets, quote unquote, deemed brutal, than to be somebody who speaks very sweet and soothing and everything is a lie. So I learned that from Patrice, and I had a teacher in high school, and probably my favorite teacher, most impactful teacher of all time. His name was Mr. Boffa, and he used to tell me, I have to learn to, not sugarcoat anything and always speak my mind. Never apologize for saying how you truly feel, no matter how harsh it may be. If it's what you feel inside, you have to be able to say something like that. Unfortunately, he passed away from a car crash because a drunk driver had hit him, and he changed my entire aspect of, being able to speak. And then after that, I got one of my favorite YouTubers, Tommy Sotomayor. He aided me in being able to get directly to the point in how you speak as well. So all of these different sort of aspects got me to where I am now, to where I speak in a cadence that, if it's in a serious tone, you'll know. If it's in a whimsical tone, you'll know. And when I want to get something across my chest, there's no sort of confusion about it. You'll understand where my stance is 100%.
It's awesome to think of all the influences people can have on you, especially the ones you'll never know. Like Christopher Sabat was Vegeta's voice actor, but the way he constructed Vegeta you found influential. I'm a big anime fan. I loved Cowboy Bebop, Spike, Steve Blum. I'm a big Piccolo fan. I love Piccolo and Dragon Ball Z. But these are characters that we watch as kids and then influence us to be something when we grow up. It's like, hey, I want to be like that when I achieve this level of life. Now I'm curious, where you are in your career, what is your goal? Because the usual route is you become a comedian through stand-up, going to open mics, and then once you get a big enough following, you go and do your special. You used to have to do an HBO special, now it's usually a Netflix special. And back in the 90s, it was really big to get your own show. If you got your own show, then you made it. And then you go on so forth to do movies, and then that's when your fame really explodes. What are your current goals?
Well, for one, I'll touch on the end goal first, because the end goal for me is to headline and sell out Madison Square Garden. Okay. I feel as if that's where I know I've made it. As for short-term goals, I just want to be able to be on stage traveling as a comedian year-round. Once I get to that point, that's what the goal is at. So I can consider myself, I'm a real professional comedian. Although I'm doing shows here and there, until I see myself constantly having, I'm going to be in Idaho today. I got to go to Columbus, Ohio tomorrow. I'm going to be in Vermont on Tuesday or something like that. Once I get there, I would say that's a big time goal for me. But as of right now, regarding videos, I want to average 10,000 views. And that's the one for videos that's there. And as for stand-up around locally, I want to be able to sell at least 30 tickets and be able to put 30 butts in seats every single time I have a show.
Do you do your own management, or do you have someone help you with that? Do you have a company for that?
Regarding stand-up, it's all me.
So you'd make the phone calls, you set up hey, I want to do a show here, these are my credentials.
You mentioned the Garden, and for me, the first time I was there, I went to go see Iron Maiden by myself, and I was a big wrestling fan, and there's so much history there as far as musicians, and it was really a powerful thing for me to be there. Even though it was my first time, I could feel the energy and the excitement and the history in the Garden. I remember Paul Stanley of KISS claiming when he was a taxi driver that he had the goal of selling out Madison Square Garden. Of course, he's done that. When did you say, this is my goal? I want to sell this place out?
My first time in the Garden was for a WWE live event in 2014. I believe it was in March or April. I still have the ticket stub because I have the ticket stub for every event I've ever gone to, dating back to like 2008. But when I was in there, it was a different sort of feeling. You can hear the cheers and everything, but that's for a wrestling show. Mm. So I was always like, okay, this is kind of cool. But I saw Bill Burr in the Garden last year, and it was completely sold out. And just seeing that stage, in a circular sort of stage, he's in the middle, and there's a sea of people just around him. And he's the focus point. He's the reason why everybody's there. And just sitting there was, I want to do that. I want to have that experience of having everybody in the palm of my hand, and more importantly, knowing that this much people came out to see me in this prestigious venue. That's what did it for me. Seeing Bill Burr, once I saw him in there, I said, you know what? The Garden's where I want to be. That's the end goal.
And that feeling, like I said, I'm an amateur, all the respect for you, but being on that stage for that one comedy night, going to rock shows, you can feel that energy people are giving out to them, and then they give it back. So it's contagious. How'd you get your name? Because I've seen you ripped. You're a ripped individual, but what you just said, like, you know what, I'm just going to call myself that, or somebody called you that?
Oh, I called myself that. Well, then again, it's a little bit of both. Because I was in the 4th grade, and I remember, for some weird particular reason, I was in class, and right before class, there was a young lady who came up to me, because we were both 9 at the time, and she said, oh, wow, you're really cute, you smell nice. And I had never gotten this compliment ever in my life. So I went back into the class, I had my feet up on the desk, I was feeling myself, and the teacher, never forget her name, Miss Esposito, she said, why are your feet up on the desk? And I said, well, so-and-so said I was cute and I smell nice. So she said, oh, you think you're some sort of Adonis? What the hell does that mean? She said, yeah, he was the god of beauty. So I said, hey, you said it. I'm going to roll with Adonis. So I used to keep Adonis as my password all throughout, elementary until I got to junior high. And then when I was in high school, and then when I started to get in shape after my freshman year of high school football, I started to get really ripped. And then my coach told me, wow, you're getting really chiseled. So I thought, Chiseled Adonis. So I used to keep it as my username. And then once I got into comedy, I was trying to come up with, do I want to use my regular name or use a stage name? And then Chiseled Adonis kept staying in my head. So, it's extremely unique. I don't think anybody has ever said this together, probably multiple times over. If anything, it's only been said once, and then you never hear it again for maybe about 4 years. So it's kind of like a leap year. So let me make it my own. And then Chiseled Adonis was born.
At the end of my interviews, I always ask this important question. What's the best piece of advice you feel that you've been given that readily comes to mind, or something that you made up? I've been given the answer of don't buy a tour bus, rent one, learn fast, fail quickly, a lot of other things. It's just something where I feel that it's wisdom that has personified itself on you, and it's become more of a life motto for you. It's something that no matter who you're speaking to, it's something that will uplift them just as much as it has uplifted you.
Be yourself. Be yourself 110%, even 150%, whatever highest number of percent one can go to. You got to be yourself. But the tricky thing is, a lot of people don't know who they are yet. So you have to find a way to sacrifice time and figure out who you are at your core. Because a lot of people are just caricatures of other individuals. They think because this person has this perception of them, they're supposed to act accordingly to their thought process. But that's not the case. Who you are inside of your house when nobody is around, that's probably who you are. So if you can find that internal confidence and pull that out from the intrinsic and make it, external, you'll be perfectly fine. Because you'll find that peace. Once you find peace within yourself, you'll be perfectly fine. So I would say be yourself in all aspects of life, whether it's, personally, spiritually, financially, depending on if you want to make right sort of purchases, because there's wants and needs, and that's a bunch of different things. But if you're trying to achieve any sort of goal, you got to stay true to yourself.
Well, wise words indeed. Sir, thank you so much for your time. It really was a true pleasure.
Hey, the pleasure is all mine. Any opportunity I get to sit down with people who either watch my videos or just looking for insight, or they need some help on their channel, or just anything, I'm always open to it. So I appreciate the opportunity even bringing me on and, just being able to chop it up about, life and comedy and everything, man. It's been my pleasure.
Well, while you're on, please plug yourself right now.
Well, if you didn't know, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Pornhub, I'm on YouTube. I believe I have a bitch shoot now or something like that. Whatever the case is, I'm all over social media. I'm on TikTok now, or Snapchat, all at Chiseled Adonis. You can't miss it. You search me, it'll pop up. I think I may be shadow banned on Instagram, but that doesn't matter right now. You'll be able to find me anyway. So you just go there, and then that's social media. As for in person, I got an upcoming show on October the 26th. I believe it's going to be headlined by Tom, I forget his last name, but it's going to be hosted by Carl Anthony Payne of Martin and The Cosby Show in the BK Estates, 1819 Utica Avenue, between Avenue J and Flatlands. The show probably is, I believe it's starting at 8:30, so I'll be there on the lineup as well, so you can come out and get these laughs. Live comedy, the place is always jumping. But yeah, follow me on social media or come out to the show, man. But either way, I appreciate your view, I appreciate your support, and I just appreciate you rocking with me.
Awesome. People, you heard it here. Check him out, the Chiseled Adonis. Sir, again, most humbly and most respectfully and ever so gratefully, I must say thank you for your time and speaking with me. Before you go, may we please get an ID, sir?
Hey, it's the diligent, vigilant, meticulous, sagacious, conscientious, analytical, methodical individual, the Chiseled Adonis, and you're watching John the Ninja.